Hi, good morning. It's Jessie, and I have so many things on my mind to talk to you about today. You know, um, First, let me start off by addressing some things that I said yesterday, because some people will think, well, why didn't I get out? There's help out there, you know. When I was a kid, DCFS was involved. They came out, they left. They came out, they left. They came out, they took my niece away, they left, you know. Um, this was when I was little, right? When I was in my teenage years, I'm the one who called DCFS myself, because I was like, when my brother hurt me, it was one thing, right? But when he hurt my nieces, you know, um, it's a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother thing to watch someone else be tortured and for them to taunt you. My brother, he would say, "Watch this, Jess. I'm gonna go put her in a boiling hot bath of water. Look at all this steam," and she's 2 years old, you know. And he'd taunt me, "There's nothing you can do about it." You know, yeah, I'm not strong enough, and you got everybody worked around me to believe that I'm crazy. You got everyone worked around me to believe that I'm the problem, that you're my victim, that I instigate trouble, that, you know, he had some words about me that he spread around, and he controlled the narrative around me while he targeted me, you know, and didn't target me as he did when I was a child, where he'd torture me and squirt mustard in my eyes. Didn't torture me as he did when I was a child, but he tortured the little girls that were in his care, you know. Um, put a can on the table. "Watch this, Jess. I'm gonna smash your hand." The little girl's frantic. She's terrified. She's crying, "Save me," you know. Things happen there, you know. And I called DCFS, and what happens? He jumps town. DCFS, case closed. He doesn't live in the area anymore. They He had this way of getting out of trouble, and then this way of punishing me for making the call, you know. And he'd punish me by claiming that I made stuff up because no one else was in the room to see what he was doing. And when someone else was in the room, like with that instant where he was smashing the can, you know, his friend was there, and he was laughing, and he's like, "I'm just playing." Afterwards, after this whole thing of "Watch this, I'm gonna smash your hand," and the little girl's terrified, and everybody else is sitting around like, "Is he serious? What do we do?" You know. And then after he's got us crushed, then he's like, "Ha ha ha, I'm just playing." how how the beast always does things under the guise of play or a joke, only it's not funny. It wasn't funny for me, and it wasn't funny for that little 3-year-old girl then, you know. Yeah, there was a year elapsed in between the time where he was talking about putting her in the hot bathtub, and the time where he was talking about smashing her with cans, and there were a lot of things that happened in between there, you know. But these are the memories that are scarred in my mind, the ones that I can't forget, you know. The ones where he really taunted me to tell me that there was nothing I could do, that people will sit in the room while he does what he does. They won't stop him. They'll laugh along with him. They'll act like it's a joke. You know, he controlled the narrative. He ruled the room, you know. Same thing with my second beast, you know. My second beast, well, if she doesn't fight it, she must like it. That was the narrative that he gave my son, you know. Mom's not fighting, mom must like it. This was the narrative that he gave my son once my son realized that these years Dad was hurting me, you know. But, you know, you go through something so long and you stop fighting. It's not that I didn't try to get away. I tried to get into a shelter. You see, he was incarcerated like most of my children's life, you know. Um, when he got out, I got these false cases put against me, these false accusations made against me with DCFS, and I was working as a teacher, and it ruined my career. I couldn't renew my license for the charges that were against me. Without my career, I couldn't afford to pay my rent by myself, you know. I had disability, But I always worked part-time. I worked part-time as a substitute teacher. It's how I made ends meet. I didn't have help from anybody else. My Social Security income, what, like $1,000 to $1,200 a month in the end, you know? Can you make $800 rent? Will they even let you in the building only making this much money? No, they won't. You have to work, even if you do have disability. And no, I couldn't work full time because I wasn't able to. And besides that, I had no support for my children. I had no help, you know. And for all these people who say I would have helped her, no, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't, because they all had these narratives going on with them that if you help her, you'll have to raise her kids. She'll abandon her kids with you. And that was a complete lie. That kept me down in the dump. But they make up these stories and they make it sound like it's your fault that you can't get help. It's your fault that your brothers and your sisters won't help you because they think that you're someone from way back when he was controlling the narrative all around them, when everybody's in denial about what happened around them, when everybody thinks it was a joke and he's got a twisted sense of humor, You forget that someone had to come up through that. Someone had to live within that, But I managed, and I worked maybe one day a week, I worked maybe 2 days a week at most, I managed to pay my bills up until the point where they came and they falsely indicted me for something that I didn't do. They said that I allowed my children's father to beat him. They said that I allowed my children's father to do things, and it was like, he just got out of prison. We haven't even seen him. We saw him 3 times. We live, in a different county that he lives in. But they ruined my career, and guess what? I got no support anywhere, and here he is saying, your brothers and sisters did this to you. Why don't you live with my mom? I'll go stay with my grandma, and my mom will help you to get back on your feet. Mom never helped me. She might have watched him, like my Wednesday night that I was in school. They might have watched him there, but I had to pay her to do it, There were never a real support, but he said it was going to be different now because he was home and things were going to change. But I moved in there because I knew I couldn't make it if I didn't have my license, I knew I couldn't make it if I couldn't work that one day a week. And who else is going to let me work 1 or 2 days a week? Who else is going to let me do that? And then I move in with his mom, and guess what? He doesn't move out. But he traps me there. Because when I moved in, he said, I had money from a car accident, and he says, give me this money and I'll double it for you. Because I wanted to use that money to buy a house. His father has a real estate company. His father said I needed twice that to buy a house. So I put my trust in them because they're being nice now. They're being supportive now. He's been gone all this time. I didn't know who he was. And now he's here. He's willing to help. He's saying things are going to change. Things are going to be different. Excusing his mother's lack of support by saying, she was angry with him and it had nothing to do with me, but now they're reconciled, blah, blah, blah. They're sorry. They even took my kids to Disney World. Well, I went with them, But I mean, let them make it up to me. Let them make my hard time up to me. But they got my money out of me. And within like a few weeks, I was like, oh no, this isn't going to work. Because he was mocking me, because he was de-pantsing me in the living room in front of his family, because he was holding me down and making me defecate on myself, and then laughing and telling everybody how I couldn't hold my mud. How they catch you when you're running for the bathroom. They catch you and they pin you down, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so I told him I want my money back. I told him I want to leave and I can't have it back. That money's locked away. He can't withdraw it, So I go and I stay with my mom, only my mom's got a new boyfriend. And I'm calling the shelters and they're telling me that the only way they have a place for me is if I leave my children behind. If I leave my children behind with people who couldn't help me to watch them so I could get a job. You want me to just abandon them with people who were never supportive of them, even when I was paying them to babysit, you know? You want me to abandon my children with people who just crushed me, who just took all my money from me, who mocked me, who ridiculed me. You want me to leave my children behind? No. So I'm going to stay with my mom, who's got a new boyfriend. And I don't know about this new boyfriend, because one time he drunk dialed me. And he's like, why am I messing with that nigger? You know, why can't he get a girl like me? And I'm scared to live with my mom, because I don't know what this guy is going to do. Because I've been put in a situation before where I had to live with somebody who was attracted to me, who wanted to be with me, and they ruined things around me in order to sabotage me. They took from me what I didn't want to give, and then they made me look like I was to blame. So I didn't want to live with my mom. And I stayed with my mom for a few weeks, and I kept trying to get in the shelters, and they wouldn't take my kids. They kept telling me I had to leave my kids behind. I had no idea back then. I had no idea whatsoever back then that the reason they were telling me this was because I was being set up with a crime. And the reason they did that indicated case falsely is because I was being set up with a crime. They were building things all along, and they weren't letting me out because they were justifying my murder. They were going to make me married to someone, you know. They were going to make my family look like they had my children and I was off, that I was an absentee parent. They were trying to make everything look like something it wasn't, all so that they could strip away my benefits. That first beast who controlled everything around me and made it so I couldn't get out, that second beast who did the same, that seven-headed beast, no different. They all do the same damn things, and they all hang you because of the cases that they build around you. They have you killed, they have you hedged in. And now this seven-headed beast wants to come and taunt me about my neighbors who I don't talk to, my neighbors who falsely testified against me, my neighbors who haven't held a conversation with me besides hi and hello. You know, my neighbors, like, what the heck? My neighbors who don't know where I came from or what I've been through, who have been fed a story of how evil I am and how much of a scammer I am. My neighbors? Like, are you kidding me? So I'm done fighting these wars, because you know what? I noticed that in my life, God has always given me something that I couldn't handle. Something that was bigger than me, and I had to keep on pushing forward, you know. And when I was younger, I thought that my way forward was through school, you know. And then I learned that the school was part of this whole seven-headed beast thing, this whole conspiracy. And I learned, you know, that's not my way forward, you know. And you think your way forward is through, like, relationship with others, you know, through good relationships, and you go seeking out God and people who follow God. And again, that wasn't my way forward, because the people who follow God also picked up the same narrative that your neighbors are saying, that you're a drunk. I don't drink. That you're a drug addict. I never did drugs, you know. That you're an absentee parent. Leave your kids behind and you can come with us. No, that's the same thing they told me with the shelter when, you know, when I was trying to leave Cornell when he first got out of prison, you know. It's the same thing they told me. Leave my kids behind and you'll give me shelter. No, that's ridiculous. You're part of that seven-headed beast too. And you feel like there's nothing in the world. You know, you feel like you got no place in the world. And you feel like you want to give up and die. But then you remember, God seen me through that first beast. That God made a way. That He brought some people to me that showed me kindness when I needed it. That second beast, same deal. He made a way. He made a way for me to survive it. My solutions didn't look like they were addressing the situation, because they really weren't addressing the situation, but they were propelling me forward and teaching me more and teaching me more. Why? Why always teaching me more? And you see, this thing, my rabbi friends, they tell me that the world is built on transactions, that God takes from one and gives to another. And I told you in one video that this is a false belief, because going back we see how over and over again they try to take from me and give to themselves, And we say that, like, Torah, it gives a blueprint for life. And if the blueprint for life, Jacob, is to take Esau's blessing, Asaph, whatever you want to call him, same person, just different pronunciation, whether you're Jewish or non-Jew. But this notion that you can take someone's life, that they can willingly give up their life by their words, it's false. It's false. I mean, if you think about it, if my brother had taken my position, he wouldn't know what to do with it. And if he somehow fumbled through it, he would have enslaved the world. Everybody would have been sitting around and laughing while other people are tormented. Oh, wait, they kind of are. Did my brother set order to the world? Was it a good thing? No, it wasn't. If, my children's father set order to the world, I don't even want to think. But in one way, is human trafficking a thing? Yes, it is, Is the world like one big porn stage now? Where marriage is no longer a thing? Where life is no longer of value? Where abortion runs rampant? Yes, it is. If my second beast set order to the world, did he? Maybe, So this exchange where we say one can take from the other, this is why I tell you that I'm not a Jew. Why I had to go through these things, why I had to learn these things, right? Because God says one cannot take from the other. If one takes from the other, you ruin it. That he allows every person a portion in life, that he pours it out to them, And the law has to be established as such, as you can't take from someone else. That if you take from someone else, like I told you, we die together. We die together. You don't find life through taking mine from me. We die together, This is the whole point of suffering for God, is to learn his order, right? To learn his order, to throw off the yokes of bondage. This is the whole point in suffering for God. This thing of, no, you can't do it. I'm not going to tolerate it. And it's of my choosing. Why? Because Asaph, it was always of your own choosing. And if you tolerate it, it becomes law. You have to say what you're not going to tolerate, And they tell me be silent. And I look at that law that requires silence. And yeah, my covenant is suffer for God. But does that mean be silent? Because David said when he's silent, his bones were broken, They were all out of joint, He was on the bed laid up, He writhes in agony because he is silent. But if the law dictates that you must be silent and then you'll be restored, this is what you do. But David died. David died in his agony without resolution. None of this stuff was solved. And nobody could have solved it for David, you see, because there is an order to the world where people get in line and they find their places in it. And David, you're following Torah, but you weren't realizing the order that goes with Torah, where one can take from another. If you'd have realized prosperity is linked, you take from me, we both die. What was it Solomon said? There's a way that seems right to man, but its end is death. This is what Solomon was trying to teach you. And it's hard to teach you when you haven't been through it. And when you've been through it, it's hard to survive it, You don't know where am I going to go from here? Like, seriously, after everything I've been through, after I see how people just do whatever anybody tells them to, how they just gang up together, and how they like to devour people and think it's their path to life. Like, every single one of them. It's not just that the authority, came in and said, say this and we'll give you this. It's not just that. It is that they take pleasure in what they do. They like being part of the scheme. They like being part of the army. Because when you're part of the army, you're getting validation, You're getting camaraderie. You're getting a family, a place to belong, Evil can't stand by itself because it's got no one else to nurture it. And it's lonely to be like me. It's incredibly lonely to stand up and be by yourself and say, I'm not going to tolerate it. The world should not be ordered like this. This is not right. And this maybe all happened because one grabbed from the other and the other tolerated it. We're not going to tolerate it anymore. You understand? And I know the Jews say you can't change Torah. You can't rewrite Torah. You're not a Jew, so you wouldn't understand Torah. But here's the thing. I'm not a Jew, but yet I experience the same experiences that you've experienced. And sometimes when you speak of your ancestors, I feel a deep connection because we've experienced the same thing. Not just the same experience, but the same physical manifestation in our body. Like when God's going to deliver us, he melts our belly, Esther. And they preach, and sometimes like, I know what you're talking about. I've been there. I learned that. I know that. And I used to think if I had learned Torah early on, that, maybe I wouldn't have had to suffer as I suffered, right? Because they tell me, be a Jew and you won't have to suffer anymore. Because they've figured out all the curses, Just be a Jew and you don't have to suffer anymore. But here's the thing. I suffer because God asked me to. I suffer because God made the request. He wanted to teach me things. He wanted to show me things. And if you take away my suffering, then you also take away my God. If you fight for me, you're going to believe the testimony of two witnesses, not knowing that they were compensated for their testimony, that they were fed lies, that they have observer bias. You're going to believe what they say. And where the Bible says your priest betrays you, it's not so much that your priest betrays you, it's they told you lies and they offered you a reward. They told you lies and they offered you elevation for your commitment to their cause. You had some personal gain from my downfall. You see how that works? So I understand. Let me say, I know the Jews were the chosen people because God sent them a Messiah. God sent them a Messiah to preserve them. I know they were. But where from there to here, I don't know anymore. Everything is so confused. You give the devil the law, and I'm not saying the Jews are the devil, I'm using an example. If you give the devil the law, he will twist you up with it to make you do what he wants you to do. He will shape you. He will form your relationships with other people. You put this bugger in charge and there will be no law because he'll strip them away, and the law will only be used as punitive. It won't be used as a guide to life. It'll be used as a tool for cutting people down when he wants them cut down. You understand? The law is the thing that has to be protected, not the institution. The law has to be protected. Because if it's not protected, if it's not safeguarded, if it's not put in the hands of the righteous people, it'll be used as a tool where the evil ones gain power by puffing other people up with entitlement and telling them that the law doesn't matter, but still using the law to cut other people down. It'll be complete darkness, deep darkness covering the whole earth. You heard this one, right? Just utter chaos. And nobody will know how to fix anything. Everybody will be cutting everybody down, and nobody will know why, you know? So I can't commit. I can't commit that way. And I don't have to. I'm not supposed to. And it's not a derogatory statement. It is that God has given me a new covenant. And I get to set some limits. And I get to say what's right in heaven and earth. And I get to say, you don't take from one to give to another. An offering can be made. A person can give to another, but you cannot take from one to give to another. This is wrong. This cannot be. We cannot exploit the law as punitive because it offers tools to enslave the world if you do it this way. We cannot do this. It is not right. You know? Entrapment in America, within our Constitution, within our laws, we're given certain rights. And somewhere in the mix there, we decided that entrapment was illegal, that you can't bait people, that you can't trick and trap people. You can't be a snake in the road biting heels and seeing how far it'll take you, you know. You can't be like that. You can't mount up on other people and fight people through people. Now, this is the thing that I appreciate about Judaism, is that they have laws saying that you must confront. You must confront. You must challenge. You cannot just take it. This is right law. They have other laws saying that you don't gossip. You don't spread rumors. You don't hold things over people for the rest of their life. They have a day of atonement once a year, and in that sins are forgiven. And we don't pick that stuff back up and run with it and keep stirring up this nonsense because you have to be responsible for the world that you're building. I agree with them here. Fully agree with them here. This business where we have to be transactional, I don't agree with. It devalues life to a coin. And it says your life is worth X amount of coins. And it places a demand on people, you know. But this person is supposed to belong in the nation in which they reside. And when you want to belong somewhere, you make a contribution. So your value isn't felt by the coins that you paid, but your value is felt by what you put in. People honor you for what you have to add instead of what you've taken from. And so I don't get into the whole transactional things, and I get what they're saying. I've been raised in this stuff, but I also get that it's wrong. That there's a better way. And I understand that they vilify it. They call it socialism. But our minds are crazy. Our entire order is crazy. We know nothing. We just keep on stirring up trouble and acting like we're the solution. Acting like our system is perfect. Acting like we have all the answers. But this is not the way. There's a way that seems right to man, but its end is death, right? I'm coming over with God, and I'm learning from Him. And He's showing me, He's teaching me things, you know. When Moses brought forth the Torah, I don't think God gave it to him all in one instant. Not in one instant. I think God reminded him of the things that He put in him before, so that when He did tell him, he would know that God was teaching him all along, you know. I can tell you, God has been teaching me all along, little by little, showing me what is wrong, showing me what is right, having me born into iniquity and amongst a viper's den, you know, a viper's nest, whatever you want to call it. Having me trained up so that I could see what is ruling the world and how people are, you know, how it develops and my position in it, you know, because if I allow this, it sets order to the world, and it's more than just your choice of submitting. It is the order, you know. And like I said in that one video, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Who's copying who? Who's shaping who? We might not be able to dissect the problem to understand it, but what we can say is that we're not going to tolerate it. Going forward, things will be different. Things have to be different. They must change. There is no way that we can stay the same. And that is my word for you today. I can't tell you where we're going yet, because I think I have to convince you to give up where you are. I think I have to convince you to take stock. Take stock in what you believe and where it's leading you. Take stock. Be mindful of the laws that you adopt, that you accept as true, where one can take from another. Because I know my brother could never do what I can do. Prosperity is linked. My brother ain't going to tell you that. He's going to make you a slave. Now, how many kings in Israel have enslaved the people? You know, is that because, you know, Jacob stole from Esau? Or is it because Asaph, whatever you want to call him? Or is it because Israel asked for a king and God told them when they wanted a king, you're going to be enslaved? Which is the one? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I think long and hard on these things. And I have a purpose to think